Welcome to the Golf Podcast Live special Flash Friday episode brought to you by FanDuel. We go live with FanDuel on Monday, so be sure to tune in. I'm your host, Rafael Kalamat, alongside Michael Bleackley in Vancouver. Lots to talk about today, specifically the Farmers Insurance Open over at Torrey Pines. We've got the South Course, the North Course in San Diego, California. So beautiful, so cold out here. We're going to talk about funny and embarrassing golf stories, but before we get started, we've got a very special guest. His name is Jared Du Toit. He's a PGA player, plays a lot of mini tours and PGA Tour events. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Pretty amazing to see you out there this weekend, but for those listeners and viewers who don't know who you are, we want to make you a household name here in Canada and beyond. Tell us a little bit how you got started in golf and where you are today.
So, first of all, today I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's where I've called home for the last 5-6 years now. But yeah, what got me into the game, my parents, we moved to a small town called Kimberley, BC, just, it's 4 hours outside of Calgary. Went there and really knew nobody there. So they basically signed, myself and my brother and my sister, for that matter, up for kind of every sport. Kind of got into everything and, really took a liking to golf and hockey and kind of played them seasonally and realized that, hockey wasn't my ticket, and really got into golf. Started getting good. My last couple of years of high school had some offers from, U.S. schools, and I played 2 years at the University of Idaho. And after that, I transferred to Arizona State University and had 2 years there. Loved it. Played with, best player in the world right now, John Rahm. He was a senior when I was a junior, so I only had 1 year when he was there. And I had a blast. I mean, and I'm still living here, and I love it here. So
That's pretty incredible. I mean, let's get into this weekend. That's pretty crazy that you actually played with Rahm. How does it feel to play with the number one player in the world? I guess you did play a practice round with John. Tell us how that feels, how to be in that environment. Is it kind of surreal to be out there playing with the guy? Once you're there, you sort of get into a zone. And I know you've done it a few times at the Canadian Open and so on and so forth, but it's kind of a reality check. How does it feel to play with him and being in that environment?
yeah, I mean, like when when I first got to school, like I knew he was really good. I mean, he won the Heisman for golf, the Ben Hogan Award the year I came in. So I knew he was unreal, and I was like, I'm going to try and learn as much as I can from this guy. And he was winning so much stuff in amateur golf, but you don't really, you think he's great, and I had no doubt that he was going to make it, but I didn't think he'd be number one in the world within a really short window when you think about it. But yeah, it's funny playing with him now and playing with him in college. I mean, his game really hasn't changed that much. I mean, he's just got so much self-belief, and it's really cool and I guess refreshing to play with. But my first rounds with him, I just remember he was a cheap college kid, like all of us, right? I mean, you try and take $10 off the guy, and he'd fight you to death for it. And now he's making whatever he's making a year. It's crazy, but no, it was very cool.
I mean, I've appreciated John. He's an emotional player, and last week he, I'm not going to say put his foot in his mouth, but the microphone or someone's camera caught him, venting a little bit, if you will. And what was he like, in terms of playing golf? And did you know him really well? In just terms of handling himself and pardon me here, I wasn't fully prepared for the question, but yeah, I just want to dive into your relationship with John a little further, and what's he really like to play with as a person?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I kind of tell everybody about John, because everybody always asks about him, is he is just so competitive at everything he does, you know, like we'll go like, you know, an example sticks out to me. It was like, we went bowling and he'd like never been bowling before. And like his girl, like it's just a super light environment. And he's just like devastated when like somebody beats him, you know? And it was just like, and you take that to like ping pong as well, right? Like it was just, you know, he's just so competitive at like everything he does. And then, you know, golf, obviously, you know, that's kind of his biggest gift. And, you know, he really wears, you know, kind of his pride and his passion on his sleeve. And, you know, he expects to be the best. And I mean, right now he is the best. So,
Sure.
it's pretty cool to see. And I mean, you know, obviously he's got a lot of, you know, physical traits, but, you know, I think his mind and just that, like that fire and that, you know, competitiveness is really what kind of takes him to where he is.
I like to see a player run a little hot, right? In golf, as we know, it's a hard game. It's extremely frustrating. You could have the most patient person on the planet, you know, swearing down the fairway and whatnot. So I actually like seeing you know, a player of his stature, you know, show a little emotion. And to me, it seems, it demonstrates that they care about their game and that competitive aspect. And so I personally like it. You know, the press will jump on it just like any story they can, just to get some mileage out of it. But no, that's good to hear. My thoughts are, I'd like to ask you about your path to the PGA Tour. Maybe give us a run through any developmental tours you played on and how that came to maturation.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, it's kind of been a crazy path for me. I mean, I kind of got my first start as an amateur in 2016 and just like careered and had like an unreal tournament. You know, I was in the final group on Sunday. So that, I mean, that was like my first taste of everything, and definitely you know, an unrealistic, you know, early success, unsustainable early success. Like my game wasn't nearly as good as, you know, kind of what it was that weekend, right? And I still had and I still have so much to learn regarding golf. But yeah, so that was kind of my first taste of it. You know, I graduated college and I played basically 3 years on the Canadian Tour, and the Canadian Tour is just in the summer. So, you know, I would play the spring and the fall a little bit on the Latin American Tour, PGA Tour Latin America. And then, you know, these last couple of years, I've chased a lot of Monday qualifiers. You know, I've gotten into a handful of events, but, you know, it's until you have, you know, a PGA Tour or a Corn Ferry Tour card, I mean, your schedule is, you know, it's kind of all over the map. I mean, you know, I played like a ton of local mini tour events. I've played, you know, I've kind of played honestly all over. I mean, one summer when the Canadian Tour wasn't going on, I played up the Dakotas Tour. I mean, you basically just kind of go wherever you have to. And, you know, that's kind of what I've been doing, and just waiting for something to stick and, you know, some sort of status to be achieved. So
That's pretty amazing.
Amazing.
Mike and I have talked about this week in, week out with other people about how hard it is for somebody to actually maintain any kind of level of consistency, getting on tour, doing Monday qualifiers, trying to get some sort of status. You know, and to what you alluded to, Jared, about the 2000 RBC Canadian Open, I think that's the first time I realized who you were on the scene. For those of you who don't remember and want to look this up, you know, you were behind Brandt Snedeker after 54 holes. You were one shot behind, right? And that was sort of like the moment I remember saying, "Hey, who's this kid? This guy's amazing," right? And so now we're watching you on PGA Tour video highlights. We're tweeting about you. We're talking about your game. You know, at the opening round at the Farmers, uh, you had that amazing birdie shot that got some coverage with the PGA Tour Live, which is amazing. I'm really happy they did that on the 11th hole, which is super hard. You kind of flopped it into the hole, pitched it into the hole as a 230-yard par three, and you chipped it in for bird, and you went back to even. Was that the first day? Run us through who you were playing with and your memorable holes.
yeah, so yeah, I started on the back nine of the South. Had like a very nervous three putt on my first hole. Basically, I had like a 30-footer downhill, tried to make it. ended up missing the 5-footer coming back. And yeah, like Torrey South is such a beast. And then, you kind of get behind the 8 ball a little bit, and you're chasing. And after bogeying the 10th, I had the 11th, and it's just like, it's 230 at sea level, firm green into wind. Like whatever club you pull, it doesn't feel like you have enough. It's just like it's just a hard hole. And I actually had a pretty good shot. It was pin high, just a little right of the green, like not far from kind of where I was aiming. And yeah, ended up chipping one in, like totally unexpected, but got me back to even and kind of got some good momentum going. Another kind of memorable hole was the 15th. It's just a really hard, kind of long par 4. And, for guys like me that, I haven't seen that many starts on, bigger, tougher golf courses, like fairways are thin and the rough is really long. You got the ocean wind coming off the left, and like it barely feels like it's blowing, but it's just that strong ocean breeze. It's just like, it touches even the most center hit golf balls. And but yeah, on that hole, I hit like a 6-iron at 30 feet, and I hit this putt that looked like it was just going to die on the high side, and then it kind of dipped in, and the crowd kind of went nuts because they had a bit of a gallery there, and because it kind of did that slow late reaction, kind of fall into the hole. And
it keeps it going though, right? It keeps it going.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I mean that was definitely a highlight. And then the wheels kind of came off shortly after that. I mean, I just like playing in that kind of rough, like it's hard to explain, but it's just like it's so hard,
And some of those fairways are so narrow. We're looking at 20, 25 yards in some spots, even less than that. And then that rough is almost it's very close to U.S. Open rough.
Yeah, I mean you can hit like almost a 10 out of 10 drive. Like you can hit a 9 out of 10 drive that just lands, in the right center and kicks off into the rough, and all of a sudden you're playing to advance your ball to the front of the green. And I mean the green complexes are hard too, right? So you gotta, after hitting a great drive and a great second shot, you're still grinding for par. And it's just like, it can be, I mean, it's a frustrating, and you just have to be so patient out there. And that's kind of, I guess, what I kind of learned from this last week is, I got off to a great start, and then things started kind of going the wrong way. And, if I would have just done a little better job of hanging in there on the south, I might have had a better chance to kind of see a couple more days. But, live and learn.
Yeah, that tour rough is, you don't really see it on TV. I remember playing TPC Scottsdale, probably 10 years ago, about a week or two before the tournament, the Phoenix Open. And they actually had a local rule that the amateurs could move their ball closer to the fairway, because the rough was, 6-7 inches deep if you hit it far enough offline, and you can't see your ball in it. And then to try and stop it, I can just empathize with you trying to stop a wedge out of deep rough on green complexes like that. It's hard. The TV doesn't do it justice. It doesn't really show how hard it is out there, and how easy, like you said, you hit a good drive in one bounce and you're in deep rough, you can't see your ball, and it's a grind.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like the other thing too, it's like basically no matter what club you pull from the rough, like the ball is going to go pretty much the same distance. You hit a 5-iron out of the rough, and it, it's going to come out low and it might chase, and then you hit a pitching wedge out of the rough and it might carry as far as, where the 5-iron ends up. Like, it's just like, it's a really weird thing. And it's kind of tough to understand and know unless you've kind of had, a lot of reps out there. And like I said, I just haven't had that many. So I'm just like a little clueless, when you got to hit, your approach shots from that kind of rough.
Jared,
absolutely.
I got to ask you this. Did you know, by you making the qualifier and getting into this tournament, it broke some Canadian records? You got 9 pros that played in this event. Not since 1970 have we seen so many Canadians play, and so everybody been going wild on social media. It's great to be able to follow so many players. I remember back in the day where we just had Weir or Ames to follow. It's really cool to see you out there, and we commend you on it. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Jared Du Toit. He's a PGA Tour journeyman, and man, I'm sure when you were growing up, you looked up to some players. What players did you look up to, and who are you friends with out there on tour now?
I mean, my biggest kind of role model, I guess, was Graham Dillette. Like I started kind of getting better, and started thinking about professional golf when I was in college, and the end of kind of my junior golf career, kind of when he was coming up, and he was kind of this blue collar. He came from small town Saskatchewan. He went to school at Idaho, but like he really kind of, carved out a career for himself. And, it was kind of unfortunate, and it still is unfortunate to kind of see what's happened to him injury wise. But yeah, he was definitely a guy that I was like, if I could be like him and have a career like him, I definitely would. And then obviously Mike Weir, being a Canadian, and, and what a lot of people don't know about Mike too is he took a long time to get onto the PGA Tour. I mean, he kind of scratched and clawed for 4, 5, 6 years, through Canadian Tour and what I'm sure then was probably either the Nike or the Hogan Tour, now the Korn Ferry Tour. And yeah, and once he got out there, he had an unreal career. And he's a guy that I really envy his career, and I hope to someday have, even a fingernail, the amount of success that he did.
Yeah, Mike has a fantastic game, and we know he's not the longest hitter on tour, but his ball striking has been stellar. And now that he's out on Champions Tour, it's fantastic to watch, because he was plagued with injuries through his 40s, which was a shame. We probably would have seen a lot more of him, but it's fantastic to see him back in action. So it makes me wonder, is there any pairings that stand out to you that you've had so far in your career, good or bad personalities that you've come across that stand out to you? See the grin there, there must be something.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, like, so I think back to my first Canadian Open there, and I played with Brandt Snedeker, and I was I think I was 21, and very much lost and like overwhelmed by everything that was going on. And I remember he just he did a really good job of, I don't know, and he didn't have to, but he kind of made me feel welcome, and he kind of relaxed me a little bit, with just small chit chat here and there. He was a great guy. I mean, I'm trying to think. Joel Damon is like maybe the biggest beauty that's like ever made to the
He's
PGA
fantastic.
Tour. I just remember like this one shot. He had like, there was like a little leaf that blew over his ball, and he was like set up to his target, and he was ready to go. And all of a sudden, he's standing there, and he just kind of looks at his caddy, and his caddy comes over, and he like picks up the leaf, and like without letting his caddy even leave, he pulls the trigger on like the hardest hole in the golf course. And I was just like, man, like what a guy. Like, it was just, it was a crazy little thing. And, just to see, I guess, how much, a guy like him can succeed out there, and he has a ton of fun too. I mean, him and his caddy are like, a couple of old buddies playing on a golf trip, like they're kind of constantly chirping at each other and whatnot. And it's definitely very cool to see, because, I think a lot of guys out there, and probably rightfully so, get a little kind of stressed out and a little hemmed in, just, playing for their livelihoods and stuff. But yeah, it's very refreshing to see a guy like Joel Damon,
For sure.
not take many things too seriously.
And I recall, I think it was at Riviera last year when there was no fans on the course, and he made a putt, and some of the residents watching, were cheering, and he puts his arms out, and he's like, "Do I entertain you?" Or for paraphrasing a little bit, but I just laughed my ass off when I saw him do that. And he's a great character in the game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, he's an all-time guy.
Well, guys, just a quick update. Farmers Insurance Open is happening today, this Friday. It's a Wednesday to Saturday finish, obviously, because NFL Super Bowl is going on Sunday, and they've changed the dates around. We got John Rahm at 14 under. He's on the fifth hole, And our Canadians are doing pretty good right now. We've got Nick Taylor, 8 under. He's 2 under for the day. Just scrolling through, Taylor Pendrith's 1 under. It's for the day at 7 under on 11. And of course, well, there they are. Adam Svensson, Michael Glickich. I always get that wrong. Adam Svensson, he's unfortunately 4 over for the day. So is Glickich at 4 over. They're both respectively at 1 over par for the tournament. You know, if you're looking at this tournament, Jared, do you have any best bets on one of these players? Who do you think is going to take it? And what's your fave?
I mean, like for the tournament, I mean, I think Rahm, like for sure. He's just like, you know, you look at guys, maybe Crenshaw at Augusta and John Rahm at Torrey Pines is right there. I mean, the golf course, you know, it's just ball striking and, you know, kind of quick and slippery greens. And he's kind of got all the tools, you know, and I think not that many guys have all the tools. So, you know, he'd be my pick for sure.
He's proven it on the green many times. Like how often do we see him drop a 30, 40 footer putt at a high dramatic moment. So let's imagine this. You're going to text John tonight. What are you going to say to him? You going to break his balls a little bit, or are you going to tell him, go for it, or what?
You know, I try and leave him alone on tournament weeks because, you know, those guys get so much attention from just so many people. But, yeah, I mean, if I had to tell John anything, I'd just tell him to just do what he always does. I mean, he's just, like, he's so good. Like, in college, like, I feel like, you know, no matter what tournament or where or how, like he always made a putt on 18 that kind of meant something, you know, and he's kind of got that, you know, like I said, and I've really been pumping his tires, you know, this for the last 20 minutes or so, but he's, you know, he's something special. So yeah, you know, if I had a bet out there tomorrow, I'd put some money on him.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna fire off a couple of questions to you, Jared. I want our audience, our viewers, and our listeners to get to know you a little bit. So don't worry, they're not tough questions. And I want sort of like 1-word answers. I'm going to fire off 4 questions, and we'll go from there. You ready? Yep. All right. So your favorite food?
Sushi.
All right. Your favorite golfer? All time. Your favorite golfer? Or maybe, you know, one of the popular questions we've asked in the past is, well, what's your ultimate foursome? But if a favorite golfer is good too.
Louis Oosthuizen, I can't not love looking at that guy's golf swing.
Yeah, it's magic.
Favorite TV show? Anything you've seen lately? Anything you binge watched? Movie?
Jeez, why am I getting stumped on this? Suits is all time. I think Suits is a great show. I don't know.
That's shot here in Toronto.
Yeah, a lot of Canadian, like the Mike Ross. He's Canadian. Patrick Adams, I think his name.
Yeah. And how about your favorite music? You got something on your playlist right now you're listening to?
You know what, Brothers Osborne, they're a country band, and I don't know why, but like, just love them. Yeah, I could listen to those guys forever.
Sweet. Mike.
So, and what do you do other than golf? You know, if you got the weekend off, what else are you into?
I mean, I love hockey. I'm an avid Calgary Flames fan, which this year they're showing some good. You know, for the past 15 years, it's been pure mediocrity. But
we won't hold that against you.
But yeah, they're, you know, I watch a ton of games and I follow them pretty good. I mean, I do a lot of outdoor stuff down here. I mean, Phoenix weather's so good, you know, you kind of feel bad being inside. You know, a lot of hiking around, a lot of golf, obviously. The last couple of years I've actually been pretty big into yoga. You know, I'm just like I'm a pretty high-strung might not be the right word, but I'm like a pretty intense, I guess, sometimes. So yoga kind of really chills me out. I love that. What else? I mean,
Yeah, I think that's really important, Jared, that, you were talking before we went on the air that you played a lot of different sports growing up. And I think that really helps a well-rounded athlete altogether. Playing hockey, I grew up playing hockey, baseball, soccer. I even cycled, on a provincial, national, international level before I got into, serious golf. So, I think that's really important to have a well-rounded, game. And it helps with your hand-eye coordination, helps with your flexibility, helps with your mental state of preparing and traveling and doing all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And to speak to that, to add to that, I play quite a bit of tennis down here with some golf guys. Adam Hadwin is unreal. Like he just wipes the floor with me. So anytime I want to get humbled, I'll go play with him. And then another Canadian guy, Stuart McDonald, who is probably, the most unheralded Canadian professional golfer at the moment. And he was like a 12-year-old elite badminton player. So anytime you get a racket in that guy's hand, he does some damage. So yeah, play a decent amount of tennis with those guys. Just like you said, I mean, do something competitive that isn't golf, because a lot of times when you're, playing golf too much, it just, it becomes
you burn out.
You burn out. Take some of the fun out of it, and it kind of turns to a job a little bit. So yeah, doing something athletic that isn't golf is I don't know if very much needed.
You've seen VJ work out. He posted a video yesterday that looked like a Rocky video. He's like hammering tires with a sledgehammer. He's hitting a hitting bag, a boxing bag with a baseball bat. He's we posted on our site if anybody wants to take a look at that.
I'll check it out. I don't do any of that, but I'll mix in some band work here and there to stay loose and all that. So.
Right on.
What's your home course down in Arizona right now?
So there's a course up north. It's called Silverleaf. It's honestly, I got super lucky to get into the golf course. It's a gorgeous golf course, and there's quite a few PGA Tour guys that call it home too. So there's always kind of usually a pretty good game to get, and it's a great one to check out if you're in the area.
Yeah, the subpar boys always talk about that to get amongst it and go down to Silverleaf and get yourself a game. You never know who you're going to be teeing up with. So just before we get into our next question, just a quick shout out to Corey Connors, Jared Du Toit, who's on with us right now, PGA Tour journeyman, Michael Bleackley, Adam Hadwin, Mackenzie Hughes, Taylor Pendrith, Max Sear, who also made the cut with you, I should say the qualifier along with you, Adam Svensson and Nick Taylor. Let's not forget our girls playing down in Boca right now over in South Florida. Mary-Aimée LeBlanc, who is up on the leaderboard. Unfortunately, she made a double bogey on the 18th earlier today to drop down to -5. But Brooke Henderson is out there playing as well. I'm looking at, your future, Jared. What does 2022 look like for you, schedule-wise? And do you have any sponsor exemptions or tournaments you're planning to go to?
I have no sponsor exemptions at the moment. I have some Latin status, so I'll go down to a couple of those events. I'll likely play the summer up in Canada. I'm going to chase anywhere from, 5 to 15 Corn Ferry and PGA Tour Monday qualifiers, in the spring and early summer. And just very much kind of touch and go schedule. It's kind of one of those things. If you get a new event and you start playing good, then, you can kind of parlay it into, 2, maybe 3, 4 weeks kind of thing. And, that's definitely the goal for me.
Mike, I think we got his nickname. It's going to be Latin status. I like it. I got some Latin status.
So I'm curious.
Worse things, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. There's. What do you do for caddies right now? Do you have a regular caddy, or do you pick up locals? Or?
Yeah, I mean it's mostly locals. Like at the level that I've been at. A lot of the events they don't even require caddies, so a lot of the time I'll just kind of carry my own. And at most levels other than PGA and Corn Ferry, you are allowed rangefinders. So other than carrying your bag, you kind of have everything you need.
Right.
But yeah, very much locals. I mean, we think it's kind of tough as like professional golfers, but like being a professional caddy, like, you know, your guy's got to make quite a bit of money for you to break even, right? Like it's, you know, a lot of guys that caddy on the Corn Ferry Tour, and you know, it's kind of breaking even until your guy gets really hot. So it's tough to kind of bring a guy around.
It's another job driven by passion too. Caddies are just as passionate about golf as players, and they do it for the love of it.
For sure, yeah. It's funny. So at the Monday qualifier, like a lot of professional caddies that, you know, don't have a guy for the week, they just kind of linger around the scoring tent, and they kind of see, you know, who had a good score. And as soon as you post a decent number, you have 5, 6, 7 of them come up to you and introduce themselves and try and get on your bag that week. It's kind of a funny, you know, kind of unseen part of the whole process. But it's cool.
Yeah, it's like sales will always be closing.
Yeah, we've always been talking about the fact that how much money it actually costs to get out on tour and to actually chase, you know, Monday qualifiers or tournament events. You know, we're talking potentially $50,000 plus, and some people say, well, that's impossible. Well, it is possible. You know, it's, you know, for everything that you need to do on a week-to-week basis, it's really tough. So, you know, we want to say before we get into your sponsors, we want to say thanks to our sponsors, Drinkwell, ECS, Evolve Creative Solutions Agency, of course. Your sponsors include who? Let's mention a couple of people who are supporting you and helping you along the way here. So maybe a shout out or a thanks.
Yeah, you know, recently I picked up, it's a Canadian sponsor, Turf Care, and they've been awesome to me. I play with, you know, one of the main guys. He's actually a member at Silverleaf as well, and he's been awesome to me. And Booster Juice, a nice Canadian company that I'm sure, you know, is very familiar with a lot of the listeners. And they've, you know, they actually sponsor. I couldn't believe how many guys they sponsor on tour. I saw 4 other guys this week with Booster Juice sponsor, you know. Yeah. So that's cool. And then Titleist and FootJoy have been my club and clothing sponsors since I turned professional. So, you know, they've been awesome to me for many years now. And I mean, I can't thank, you know, the 4 of them enough for all the support over the years.
Very cool.
Yeah, we're looking into a year where possibly the Canadian Open will happen. It looks like it's a green light. For the last 2 years, not since the war, have we not seen 2 years of no Canadian Open, with a history going back to 1904. Hopefully you'll be able to come out this way. Have you had a chance to play St. George's, and are you going to try to get onto the Canadian Open and get a sponsor's exemption?
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try and play. I mean, you know, sponsor exemption. I've probably, you know, I think I've been given 3 before, so I've definitely had my fair share of sponsor exemption. So, you know, if I were to get in, you know, it'd either be through the Canadian Tour. I know a lot of years they kind of have, you know, after, you know, week 4, the cutoff, the top 3 guys get in, or something like that. I don't know what it's going to be. And then, you know, if not that, then I'll definitely try and Monday qualify, because one year I was close. I think it was the year it was at Hamilton. I went out and tried to Monday qualify and was right there. I mean, I don't know if you guys have played that Monday course at Heron Point, but it's hard. It's hard as well. It's a great Monday track, and a great test to get into the event.
Well, if Golf Canada is listening, and I know they are, all right, let's give this guy a break. He actually made the qualifier, played amazing golf this weekend, put Canada on the map, and here we are with him. So, Golf Canada, give him a sponsor's exemption. No, how are you doing on time, Jared? We usually ask our guests beforehand. Here we are dragging you out. We usually go about an hour. Are you okay to stick around for a few more minutes?
Yeah, no, I'm good for sure. And speaking of Golf Canada too, I mean, I feel terrible for leaving them out, but they've had a young pro program for the last, I don't know how many years, but
since
I've been
2000. I think since 2000,
Yeah.
Their goal was to get 5 players up in the top 100 in 10 years. And, here they are, consistently getting anywhere between, 4 and 9 players on tour.
Yeah. But yeah, they've done so much for the game in Canada. I mean, we just actually had right before this Monday qualifier, there was a bit of a training camp where, I think there's 7 pros on the team this year that, kind of come down from all parts of Canada and the US to train for a week. And, it's kind of hosted and facilitated by Golf Canada. And they've been, a huge help for the game. And, they actually have a new guy in charge of the player development program. His name's Kevin Blue. And he is, he's pretty sharp, and he's pretty focused on, getting as many people to the PGA Tour and LPGA Tour as possible. So, I think with the right programs and everything, it's definitely possible. And, I think they're doing a great job.
Outstanding.
Yeah, definitely. Golf Canada is, nothing but praise for them in what they've been doing to grow the game in Canada, even on the amateur level. But that makes me think of, we like to talk about golf courses, obviously, and what course stands out in your mind? Like if you could have your bucket list course and go play every day or be a member, what would that be?
I mean, it's definitely a cop-out answer, but Augusta National, it's like the only course that I know, basically every hole, and I know what way the putts break, and just from watching it on TV and that would definitely be number one. I mean, I was always actually kind of fascinated with Marion. Remember with the wicker baskets in the US Open? Like I don't remember too much about the golf course, but I just thought that place was so cool and so fun to kind of watch on TV. I just remember the year they had the US Open, all the players were getting all confident in the press room, saying that 15, 16, 17 under was going to win, and then I think like winning score was right around par. A place like that is really cool, and a place that you'd love to play kind of every day, I'm sure.
Yeah, Augusta's a pretty special place. We've got Len Matisse on next week. He finished second to Mike Weir. I don't think he realizes how much of a household name he is here in Canada, because when people watch the Masters, him finishing second, that's pretty amazing. So we'll touch on that, and so hopefully you get out there one day and you get to play. There's obviously the Open as well. I'm sure you'd love to get out to play the Open. This year they're over at the old course, St. Andrews. Have you had a chance to play overseas at all, be it in Europe or the UK, Scotland in particular?
No, never the UK. I went over to European Q School one year in France and played a course out there. But yeah, I've never played in the UK, and that'd be another thing that I really want to do. I've been fortunate enough to play Cabot a couple times, Cabot Links and Cliffs, and from everything I've heard, it's kind of the closest thing in North America to true kind of Scottish links, and that place was a blast. And if it's anything like if the course in Scotland or anything like Cabot, I'd leave tomorrow to go play a couple of them. So, yeah.
Well, you're now 26 years old. You're still really young. I know there's a lot of new, young, and hot players coming out. I mean, when you went to University of Arizona, you went to Idaho and Arizona, I think, right? Did you switch
Idaho
over?
And Arizona State. Yep. So, I transferred after 2 years.
And I'm just blown away over not only Division 1, but Division 2 and 3 golf is just incredible. When they show some highlights or they talk about, or you look at the scores, do you feel like there's been a changing of the guard of some sort, where the kids are starting off younger, they got more training, they're hitting it further, they're more precise with all the technology?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, I don't know, I think the game has kind of continued to grow, and I think there's definitely more and more people trying to play at a higher level. Like it's pretty funny. You meet all these football and hockey and different kind of physical sport parents, and none of them want their kids to play football or hockey. They all want them to play something that's easier on the body, like golf or something else. And I think for that reason, like there's a pretty good kind of gene pool going into golf. And, I definitely think the competitive level is kind of picking up. And, I mean, it probably is in every sport too. Like I've got, a really good friend that played in the AHL for 10 years. And, he kind of talked about it too. It's just like every year, like he just felt like he got better and faster. And, so, it's kind of evolution of sport, I guess.
Less concussions in golf, that's for sure. I could imagine as a parent, it'd be nerve-wracking to watch your kid getting tackled on the fields or pummeled into the boards, in the rink, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I couldn't imagine that at all. Like, and I kind of laugh at all the crazy hockey parents and the crazy sport parents, but I might be crazy too if my kid got lit up and went head first into the boards or something like that. So
I'll tell you, Jared, you're living the dream. And a lot of people live vicariously through someone like you. So just keep on pushing, keep on doing it, man. We're cheering you on. I know it's a very lonely sport at times. I played a little bit of mini tour. I used to be over at Royal Montreal Golf Club. Played a number of clubs as a club professional, and you kind of get stuck in that world. But go for it. Just do it. We're looking at this. We're looking at you. And, tell us maybe just a little bit more about your day 1-2 experience, going to the range, seeing all these players. Who were you paired with and who did you see on the range?
So I was paired with Chad Ramey and David Skins, who are, both Corn Ferry Tour graduates. All the Monday qualifiers and then like the lowest level PGA Tour players kind of get the worst tee times. So, I wasn't paired with a household name by any means, but two great guys and, had a great group. And then on the range, it's kind of funny because like you're just rubbing shoulders with, some of the best players in the world. Like I remember actually I Monday qualified into this event last year too, and I was using this like swing aid to kind of help you compress your wedges. And like using this aid, you really had to kind of lean on, and get a lot of shaft lean on at impact. And I remember using it in like, the miss when you use the tool is a hosel. And I'm sitting between Hideki and Brooks, hitting balls, and I'm leaning on this wedge, and I clip one off the hosel. Just like I just felt so little.
You had a Tin Cup moment. That's a total Tin Cup moment.
Who hit that?
Yeah. Take your change out of your left pocket, put it in your right pocket.
Yeah. It was wild, but I mean, the Farmers is kind of heralded as it's kind of the first real PGA Tour event of the year. I mean, there's got Hawaii and they've got, Palm Springs, but the field is really stout in the Farmers. And, it's the first kind of real hard golf course as well. So you see a lot of, crazy big names. And it's definitely kind of getting to see up close what they kind of do day to day as well.
And you mentioned playing at sea level too. And for anyone who doesn't live near the ocean, the ball doesn't move, and we deal with that here in Vancouver, no matter how well you hit it, that thick oceanside air is penalizing.
Yeah, no, for sure. The ball goes nowhere. It's actually pretty humbling. You get the TrackMan or whatever, and you get all the numbers, and you're like, man, my 8 iron in Phoenix goes 170, and you pull it out in the morning in San Diego, and you flush one, and it goes 153, and you're like, oh no, it's going to be a long day. But
yeah,
for sure.
And we're going to wrap this up very shortly. Mike, any last thoughts or questions?
Well, I definitely want to hear some embarrassing golf stories out of Jared. You got to have something juicy for us.
we usually finish off the show with embarrassing or funny golf stories. So if you could think of anything, just as you think of that, I'll give you a really quick one. Back at the Canadian Open, I believe it was in 2000 when Tiger won over at Glen Abbey Golf Club. It was a practice round. I was out in that roundabout in front of the clubhouse, and I had a disposable camera. And I wanted to take a picture of Tiger. He's coming out of the clubhouse with his entourage. And I said, oh, what a cool picture this would make. And we're not on the course or anything. And just to my right was a minivan with a golfer getting in. At the time, I didn't know who it was. So I took it. The flash was on. The flash went off. Here's another flash story, Mike. This is my second flash story. The flash goes off. And the guy looks at me, he was getting into the minivan. He goes, "Hey, there's no cameras. Hey, security, tell somebody about this guy. He's got a camera. He's got." And I look the guy beside me. I asked him. I go, "Who's that?" He's like, "That's Brandel Chambly." I'm like, "Who?" I didn't know who he was. Well, anyways, that's my Tiger Woods Brandel Chambly story. It was kind of embarrassing.
That's good. Yeah, two kind of came to mind for me, and one of them was the second Canadian Open I ever played, and I was playing with Joel Damon, and I'm right on the cut line, and I'm freshly turned pro, so like making a cut at a PGA Tour event was definitely a big deal for me. So I'm pretty nervous, and I just remember we get to AT&T and nobody's in front of us, and I'm like, yeah, I need to pee, like, and there was like no bathroom around, so I'm just like, I'm asking all these guys, like, what do you do? Like, you just go over there, like, do you get fined because there's people around? And I just had no experience. So eventually I ended up sneaking off into the bushes, probably somebody's yard at Glen Abbey, and did that. But and then this other one, we were actually at, and it's when you said Tiger, it made me think of it, but we were at Isleworth for a college event. It was my junior year, I think. And I'm doing the math. I'm like, okay, well, Tiger's big incident was it was at Isleworth. It was at his home in Isleworth where he, crashed into the fire hydrant, like by his house, when his wife caught him and this and that. And, I'm like, we got to go find this fire hydrant and go take a picture about it. So if you scroll through my Instagram, it's myself and a freshman. We're posing by this fire hydrant, and we ended up posting a photo about it. But I don't know, that came up when I thought about Tiger.
That's funny.
Awesome.
That's funny.
Mike,
you got a story?
Yeah, I do, and it involves Fred Ackman, who is connected to our sponsor, Drinkwell. A couple of years ago at McCleary Golf Course, a local muni here, took him out at twilight. He's a beginner. And the only reason this trick worked is because he doesn't know much about golf. And I had an exploding golf ball. It was probably 40, 50 years old. It was from my mom's second husband. So, and he got a bunch of swag when he had passed away. And so I never thought I would use it, but I brought it out this one night, hoping I could drop it on Fred and get it on the first tee. It's a narrow par 5. He obviously tops the ball into the little creek, and I had the ball in my pocket, and the marshal was sitting with us. I'm like, watch, I'm going to get him. Throw the ball over to Fred, and he didn't know any better. He puts it up on a tee, squares up and hits it, and then boom, the thing explodes. It was just magical, and we're all just laughing our asses off.
That's one of those powder golf balls, right?
Oh, 100%.
We gotta post that. We gotta post that.
I have it on video. It's on my DJ Instagram account, and we're gonna post it. And any knowledgeable golfer would have noticed immediately that wasn't a ball. So, but I was able to fool him, and he was a good sport about it. Had a good laugh.
That's awesome.
Jared, you've been so good to us, man. We're going to wrap this up. Any final thoughts from you? Thanks for coming on. We certainly appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for hosting, guys. Yeah, you guys got a good thing going on here, and happy to join you.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, the door's open for maybe later on in the year after you have some good success on tour, and you can tell us about it.
Hey, awesome. I'll be there.
All right. For Jared Du Toit, Michael Bleackley, I'm Rafael Kalamat. You've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live. Special thanks to Drinkwell, Upperhand.ca, Sports Cards and Collectibles, ECS, your Evolve Creative Solutions for all your digital marketing needs. And remember, we're going live with FanDuel as our new affiliate. As of Monday, we'll be giving you our best pets, best bets, not our best pets.